Hi guys, welcome to another video. Thanks for watching, and if you're interested in the Essex Boys case and true crime in the UK and abroad and you're not already subscribed, please like and subscribe and click the notifications bell in order to receive immediate updates on newly published material. So before I begin, I want to say that it's with much joy that I can announce that the Crime Scene to Courtroom is back with a new channel. If you don't already know, this is by far the best and most informative channel to date on the Essex Boys case. And if you've not already checked this guy out, then I strongly suggest you head over to the new channel, which is Crime Scene 2 Courtroom with a number 2. I'll leave a link in the description. This guy has put hundreds of hours of work into creating really detailed and well put together content about the case, and it's just great material. So again, I recommend checking his channel out at the end of this video today. So without further ado, let's crack on. So today I'm going to be breaking the video up into a few sections. Firstly, I'm going to be talking briefly about the Steve Nipper Ellis interview, as this topic has been subject to many different reactions from people since it was released last year. And I just want to discuss what Steve Nipper claims and the probability of its actual authenticity, and also what my reaction was and my thoughts and opinions on the claims which he made. Secondly, I'm going to read a few witness statements of interest and discussing them briefly. So last year, many of you know, a video was published by Liquid Bullet Productions titled Steve Nipper Ellis, the Essex Boy Interview, which speaks for itself really. It was an interview with Steve Nipper Ellis. Now, if you don't know who Steve Nipper Ellis was, he was an ex-associate and also enemy of Tony, Pat and Craig. He had previously been good friends with Pat after meeting him in Chelmsford Prison. Pat went on to move in with Steve for a short time, and as Steve claims, the pair earned proper dough through different criminal schemes, including drugs and stolen credit cards. Pat introduces Steve to Tony Tucker, who becomes immediately jealous of the friendship, and after Nipper made a joking remark to one of Tony's girlfriends, Tony, in a drug-fueled rage, went to Nipper's flat and threatened him with a revolver and meat cleaver, which in turn led to Steve shooting Pat at his bungalow, and back-to-back confrontations with the trio, involving Steve shooting at Tony and Craig, causing even more tension between Steve and the trio, resulting in Pat, Tony and Craig threatening Nipper's family, even threatening to cut off Nipper's youngest sister's fingers off. What lovely people they were. Now, in this interview, which lasts just under an hour, Steve is asked different questions taken from viewers prior to the interview. And the final question is, do you know who killed the Essex Boys? To which, after a pause, Nipper answers, my dad. Now, there has been mixed reaction from many people since the video's release, with a huge amount of people believing Steve's claims, and I'd say an equal amount of people saying they disbelieve him. Now, let's look at some facts about Steve's claims. Firstly, Steve claims that his father was the one who murdered the three in Workhouse Lane, Rettendon, and that he acted alone after a tip-off from another man. Secondly, he claims his father called him the day after the murders to tell him what he'd done. He also states that his father has actually been dead for the last 4 years. Nipper also states that there was a witness that night, a man called Damon Alvin. So what do I think about these claims? Let's look at some actual facts surrounding the pointers and what's been said. Now, to start with, Nipper claims the reason the trio were down the track that night was because of a supposed drug deal / retrieval of dropped drugs, and that his father learned that they would be down there that night. Now, nobody actually knows why they were down there that night. All we can do is speculate. But we do know, as a fact, that Donna Jaggers, Craig's wife, in her statement, claims Craig told her that she was under the firm belief that the three were going to be meeting Mickey Steele to view a potential landing site for a plane. This is also what is in the official account, which was made in court based on Darren Nichols' statements. Now, as I mentioned, Steve states his dad had been dead for 4 years now. Another fact is that Steve has used his old association with the three. Another fact is that Steve has used his old association with the three to make money from various sources, including previous interviews and book deals. I imagine that he would have made money from this most recent interview as well. So we know as a fact that Steve has and likes to cash in on the events back in 1995. Next, Damon Alvin, the supposed witness. Now, who is, or should I say, who was Damon Alvin? Damon Alvin, like Darren Nichols, is another supergrass who has disappeared into the witness protection program. Damon Alvin was previously on trial with a co-accused, a man called Ricky Percival, on a murder charge of a man shot dead in an allotment. So Damon was previously accused of the crime, but when a piece of evidence came into the court during the trial, which Damon apparently was not happy with, he then went on to strike a deal with the prosecution to testify against his co-accused, and Ricky Percival was found guilty of the murder, and Damon was given a new name and home and identity under the witness protection program, never to be seen again. Now, I just want to read to you a statement. It's only fair to include, like I said, all the facts. Now, a fact is, this is a police handout from the 15th of the 1st, 96. And the police handout, the police print off reads as follows. DS Antonosia, or Antaniazi, I can't pronounce it properly, but a certain DS, Detective Sergeant, was contacted stating after the funeral, Tate's relatives were looking for Nipper Ellis as they believed he was involved in some way with the murders. There's been no further updates since this time. So we know that the police were aware just over a month after the murders that Tate's family were searching for Nipper, believing he was involved. Which family members they were, I do not know, but I'm hazarding a guess that Russell Tate, that's Pat's brother, could well have been one of the family members in question. Now, obviously, we know that this police document does not by any means prove anything, but it's still interesting to know. Now, what do I think personally? I think Nipper is lying. I think it's total bullshit, to be honest. I believe he's just attempting to make more money from the old story. I think it's just a sheer pack of lies. Now, back in 1995, Steve was himself brought in for questioning regarding the killings, and I know that the police would have made sure that they confirmed any alibis in full of Steve and his father. And I believe, if I remember rightly, that Steve's dad was in fact in a hotel in Ipswich with family, which was confirmed by police at the time. So now let's look at Damon Alvin, the only person who would be able to clarify Nipper's claims, would you believe, has disappeared into the witness protection program, never to be seen again. What a coincidence, eh? I mean, that alone for some could confirm the story is bullshit, but I generally think that Nipper is bullshitting. Obviously, I was not there that night, but one thing that pisses me off about the whole thing is the fact that if his claims were true, then he should have come out as soon as his dad had passed away, so the legal representatives of Mickey Steele and Jack Womes, the two men convicted of the murders, could have done something with it. Now, the final nail in the coffin is the fact that Nipper has previously lied about his whereabouts on the night of the murders in different interviews, so we know he's a bullshitter anyway, and that in a whole is my personal opinion on the Steve Nipper Ellis interview. So, next, I'm going to be reading you a statement of interest about the case. So this is a statement from a firearms official, interestingly stating that Tony Tucker had previously applied for a firearm, and the statement reads as follows. Mrs. C.J. Evans, Firearms Licensing Headquarters, date the 12th of the 1st, 96, time 1500 hours, Inquiry RE Mr. Peter Webb. She, above, the registered firearms dealer, who also holds a personal firearms shotgun certificate, contacts me on the above date with an inquiry relating to his son's firearms certificate. During the course of the conversation, he mentioned that he knew one of the people who was shot and killed in Rettendon recently. As I know that one of the persons killed was Mr. Anthony Tucker, who had recently made application for the grant of a firearms certificate, I assured Mr. Webb was referring to him. I, of course, did not respond in any way to Mr. Webb's information, but feel that due to the possible drugs involvement and the interest previously been shown regarding Mr. Webb's involvement with drugs, recently questions at Heathrow, that I should record his comments for your attention. Dated 10th of the 1st, 96. Now, as stated at the top of the statement, this was regarding a Mr. Webb, but it then goes on to talk about Tony, and I personally think it's interesting to know that Tony was clearly wanting to own a firearm of some sort. Now, for what reason? I mean, we don't know. We do know Tony owned a property with a large amount of land, so the weapon may have been, innocent for innocent reasons, for shooting birds or rabbits. But we can't disregard the possibility that he wanted to own a weapon for illegal activities. We know that the three men were previously associated to firearms and had in fact borrowed a machine gun from a criminal associate, Mad McBowman, to threaten Mickey Steele and a criminal associate in a planned drug robbery. So we can't rule out that Tony may have wanted a firearm for illegal purposes, or even to potentially soften the blow if he was later to be caught with a firearm. He may have genuinely believed that it would have given him some sort of excuse legally later on if he was, arrested with an unregistered weapon. We will never know, but I thought it was certainly interesting, and I wanted to share this statement with you guys so you can try and, make up your own minds. So the final statement I shall be reading is from a Mr. Crawley, Mr. Crawley Moore, who was a farmer who lived in the Rettendon area. And the statement reads as follows. Dated 12th of the 1st, 96. N.R. Crawley Moore. I'm the above described person, and I'm a farmer resident at the address Overleaf with my wife and young son and stepdaughter. On Friday the 1st of the 12th, 95, I left my home address driving my wife's Daihatsu 4-track. My intention to drive to the Thetford area for a business meeting. En route, I stopped off at a Little Chef restaurant, which is off the A14 junction with the A140, arriving about 9:15 hours. I was to meet a business associated from PIC, Pig Improvement Company, at this location, but arrived early. I sat in my car for a while and noticed a Range Rover vehicle, which I believe was coloured metallic blue, parked by the side of me in a parking bay outside the restaurant. There were 3 male persons in the vehicle, 2 in the front and 1 in the back, who I can describe as follows. Driver, male 1, white, between 30 and 40 years, 6 feet tall, medium build, dark brown hair, short tidy style, clean shaven, wearing a V-neck green long sleeve jumper and trousers. Front passenger, male 2, white, between 30 and 40 years, 6 foot and large, build, possibly fat, short ear length hair, slightly curly and greying, clean shaven, wearing a light brown leather bomber jacket and jeans. Rear passenger, male 3, white, between 30 and 40 years of age, large build, short dark hair, clean shaven, 6'2", tall, wearing light coloured suit, who I would describe as looking like a business person. I would say all 3 looked as if they could handle themselves. While I watched them, male 3 was leaning forward speaking to the 2 in the front. A short time later, male 3 got out of the vehicle and changed places with male 1, the driver, and they all appeared to be looking at something on the back seat. Male 2 then got into the back seat and male 3 got into the front passenger seat, at which time they appeared to be arguing over what was in the back seat. This carried on till about 10 o'clock. when my colleague arrived and we both went in for breakfast. When we came out at about 10:30 hours, they and the vehicle had gone. I have not seen either of these persons before the incident or seen any pictures of them since, in the newspapers or on television. My only dealings with the incident is a broadcast on the news the day that they were found, and it was this which prompted me to call. N.R. Crawley Moore signed. Now, the first thing that springs to mind after reading this statement is that there is a chance it could be related to Tony, Pat and Craig. It has also been of some interest to the Essex Police at the time, the statement. Now, to begin with, we know that all three were heavily involved in drugs up until the time of their death, and the first thing that springs to mind to me is that the three men could have been discussing or arguing about an amount of drugs that was concealed in the back seat. We know that Craig, Rolf, was a go first, Joey for Tony and Pat, and one of the men could have been Pat or Tony, and they may well have been giving Craig an earful about perhaps collecting a batch of drugs which was perhaps underweight. Although it's a stretch to the imagination, but they could have been arguing over the drugs being of poor quality, or even arguing about the poor quality of the drugs which we know they received from Mickey Steele. I know it's a far stretch, but it could be a possibility. Now, the descriptions of the three men sound more like they could have potentially been Pat and Craig and another individual, or more likely so. I say this because we know that Tony Tucker had very distinct long brown hair, and the descriptions of the men given do not. That's not to say that the farmer did not make a mistake on what he was recalling, but it's quite a detailed statement for what it is, so I imagine he has his facts rather straight. The third man could well have been Peter Cuthbert, who we know spent a frequent amount of time with the trio and was even with them during the day that they died. Of course, the incident could be completely unrelated, but it reminds us of another statement given by a man who said he saw three men arguing behind a dark-coloured Range Rover in a lay-by next to the same Little Chef. Like I said, it could be completely unrelated, but I wanted to discuss it and share it with you, as I still find it rather interesting. So that's it for today's video. Like I said, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and if you're interested in the Essex Boys case, give the notification bell a little click to receive news on newly published material, and I hope to see you again in the next video. Thanks for watching.